Hi, and welcome to the Health Begins with Mom show. I am Dorit Palvanov, your host. On this podcast, I will share insights and interviews on health, parenting, and explore the question of what does it take to thrive as women, wives, and mothers. Now, let's get going with today's episode. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Health Begins with Mom podcast. This is Dorit Palvanov, your host. Thank you so much for those of you who are listening to the show, and welcome to the ones who are new. Today on the show, I wanted to answer a question I received in my Facebook group. So again, if you're interested and you don't know about this group, it's called Busy Moms Get Healthy, which is where you can connect with me and connect with other like-minded mothers who are on a mission to heal themselves and heal their families and all of that good stuff. So here is the question. She's saying, we are a healthy household in general, but I struggle when we attend playdates or parties where foods we don't eat at home are present. Why do my kids want to eat Goldfish and Pringles and Gummy Bears when we are outside of our house? So I have to giggle at this question because, at this point, after having 3 kids, I remember when I was starting out my mommy journey, and getting deeper and deeper into health. I was so fascinated with, health and nutrition and the gut and all of that amazing knowledge and information. And obviously, as somebody who is a newbie, I wanted to implement. I wanted to make sure that I feed my kids and also myself with only, best supreme quality foods. I spent and still spend thousands of dollars at health food stores. It's because I truly believe that the quality of the food that we eat matters, especially these days that, our environment is so intoxicated. Our water, is so unclean, and the air that we breathe is also, laden with different unhealthy substances. And so, it matters to me. And I think the mom who asked this question you can relate to that too. And so I'm not here to negate the importance of the quality of the food. What I do want to say is I want to talk a little bit about perspective. And especially, I think, in this field of health, and you guys know that in my past, I used to practice pediatric nutrition, which is, I've heard a lot of these questions, a lot of parents, frustrated parents, who would ask me, what do I do with my picky eater? How do I feed my picky eater? How do I get my kids to eat vegetables? All my kid wants to eat is crackers and cheese and candy all the time. Like, how do I get them not to eat that? Whew, that was almost like on repeat. That was on repeat in my practice. And after doing this work for 5 years, I've realized that I am teaching the wrong target market because my target market at the time was kids. So I would teach the parents how to get through their kids, how to use different parenting and behavioral strategies in order to get their kids to eat healthier. And doing this, I've done this in a group format, led me to realize that I am talking to the wrong customer. Because the truth is, and the real problem originates most of the time with the parents. And so I'm not saying this with, pointing fingers at anybody. This is absolutely no judgment. This is just what I have been able to observe after working with so many people, after working with so many families. And I think the reason it's happening is because we have to remember when we are having kids, at least in my practice, most of these families were still very, very young themselves. They were in their 20s or maybe early 30s. And I mean, if you think about life and our human experience, this is like, I don't know, maybe like a quarter of your life. It's just the beginning of your life on earth. And obviously, although we are already matured and adults and, parents, we are still kids, very much children ourselves. And we still have our own, shit to figure out. And we are still, so many of us are still figuring out, what are we going to do with our careers and what are we going to do with our relationships and our marriage. And then these kids who are, you guys know that when kids get into the picture, everything becomes more complicated. And so I want us to give ourselves some grace, some love, some grace, and just the acknowledgement that we are really doing the best we can. And then the second thing is realizing that although the intention for getting kids to eat healthier and prevent them from eating junk or snack or unhealthy snacks, the intention there is really, really good. I do not negate that at all. I know that it comes from a clean heart of really wanting your kids to just be healthy and to only put, the thing that really will nourish their little growing bodies with the very best food possible. However, we have to understand, and this really goes back to psychology and human behavior and understanding how human matures, right? What happens in that path from being a child into transitioning into adulthood. Although this is our intention as adults, our kids don't see that. What our kids see and experience on an emotional level is, I'm not allowed, mommy is not a nice person, there's something wrong with me, there's something wrong with that food. And eventually what this kind of approach does, it creates more problems than there were to begin with. And so in a way, we are giving birth to more struggle, more challenges, and more opportunities for struggle around that same topic. Whereas if we were just completely neutral about the situation of snacks and unhealthy food. In my experience, I have 3 kids. I have a 9-year-old, 6-year-old, and a 2-year-old. So I have the range. I have a range of ages. I've been able to observe that when I'm neutral and I don't give a lot of energy to that kind of stuff, my kids are able to move through the unhealthy food quicker. They're able to heal much quicker if they get if they get sick or anything happens physically. And we are just not getting hung up on this, because the reality is, especially in today's world, there is a lot of that kind of food out there, and it's really, really, really hard unless you are completely secluded somewhere in the forest living on your own to have that kind of food. Like, it's almost impossible to not be exposed to that food, because our kids, they go to school, they go to daycare, they have birthday parties, they have play dates, and you want them to have social life, and you yourself want to have a social life. And let's admit it, we all like that kind of food. I mean, like, I think I've been pretty good buying really good quality food, but if there's one food I'm really struggling with not eating, I don't buy this food often, but if it's there and I go somewhere and I find it, I definitely will eat it, and that food is chips. I don't know, just love it. I've always loved it. I've always loved French fries, although it completely ruins my liver and my skin, causes acne, but I love it. What can I do? I just like it. And so I think, really, again, coming from a place of compassion, understanding, and then just a lot of maturity and just a lot of faith and trust that your body and your kids' bodies are so smart and intelligent, and they know and they want to heal. So, having said that, I do think that it obviously would not be wise to just say, oh, screw this, our bodies are intelligent, let's just eat junk and, junk food and crap all day long, all the time, and we're going to be fine. Because the truth is that, it's not going to happen. And so what I do, for example, in my case, is I make a really, I put a lot of attention, and I put a lot of effort into filling up my pantry with really good quality snacks, so that my kids, when they're hungry and starving and really just want to grab something and go, I have these foods available. And so when we are at home, and most of the time kids are at home, and so what I do is I just follow the 80-20 rule, which says that 80% of the time, we will eat and we will behave and we will do what's right, in air quotes, of course. And then the 20% of the time we are allowed to kind of sin or to, eat some junk here and there, and still feel like we are human and we have a social life and we are not completely, food Nazis. That's the term that is, I think it's going viral now. And I remember being a food Nazi, and it felt completely energetically draining for me as a mom, but also it was really not fun for my kids. And so I stopped doing that, I completely stopped that, practicing that. Now I'm much more realistic, and there's no more that kind of rigid approach to eating. So like I said, at home, to 80% of the time when we eat, we try to eat food that is made at home, that I cook. Or if it's not food that I cook, then sometimes I buy food from somebody who cooks at home, so I know it's a homemade food. This is number one. Number two, like I said, to make sure that your pantry, I'm just going to bypass that. All right, so number two is stocking your pantry with really good quality snacks. So that when your kids are hungry, and also when you are hungry, you have something really good quality to just grab on. So some examples could be, I always like to have on hand some whole wheat crackers, some unsalted pretzels, obviously nuts. We like all nuts. If you guys have nut allergies, then you can skip the nuts and just maybe try some dry fruit. I like the combination of dry nuts and of nuts and dry fruit. So you can do like a trail mix. You can also try some seeds. So pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds are a great idea, and they're also very high in nutrition, in omega-3s. Then in your fridge, you can always have, cheese, just good quality, organic. Make sure that when you buy dairy, it's organic. Do good quality cheeses, and of course also vegetables. So I make a huge effort to have celery, peppers, all colors, cucumbers, cherry tomatoes, to have them always cut up, obviously washed up, cut up, and put in containers, so that when my kids are starving, they can grab these foods. And you know what? They don't mind it. Especially when they're hungry, they eat it. And so it makes me happy. Obviously fruit. So we always have apples. Now because it's summer, we also have an abundance of other fruits. So peaches and plums and nectarines, and cherries and grapes and watermelons. So now we eat a lot of fruit. And then other foods like meats. For example, you can have some cut up chicken into small cubes, or some fish. I also like to have some tuna on hand, and I mix it up with something that is, I don't know, it will sound maybe radical to some of you, but for those of you who understand nutrition and who understand the importance of eating food that is high in good and healthy fat, I think you will appreciate that. And so that would be mixing the tuna with cod liver. It tastes almost the same. Especially when you mix it in the tuna, you will not even feel it. But it will upgrade the nutritional content of the tuna so much. Tuna these days, in my practice, I recommend women to abstain completely from tuna, especially if there are known hormonal imbalances, because tuna is one of it's one of these fish that are contaminated with mercury. And even though you can say, some people say no, there are some tunas that come from different places in the world and they're better. I don't, from my experience getting through, and like I said, I don't spare money on good quality food. I tried the good quality tuna and I still had the same symptoms. And so in my opinion, for us women, we should be, we should not be eating tuna. But if you really like it and enjoy it, and I know some women who eat tuna on a daily because it's easy, it's quick. You just open the can, you toss it, you top a salad with it, and there you go. So in that case, especially, I would recommend you to mix it up with cod liver. And then at least, you're getting the nutrition into it. And yeah, so having these kinds of foods that are quick, that are, not requiring a lot of prep and a lot of work, I think will make it much easier for you to eat good 80% of the time. But then, to allow some leeway for the other 20% when your kids go to birthdays and to their grandparents or to their friends, or yes, because this is just the life and that we live in, and I don't think that it is healthy, both on a physical level, to constantly have rigid almost like constraints and rules in the house around food, but also it is not good for your relationship with this child, because you are the parent, and especially if you're practicing being a conscious parent like I am, you really want to be mindful of that, because at the end of the day, this rigidity doesn't yield anything positive. And so you will find that these kids who hear a lot of no's, of course it depends on their temperament, but I can tell you, I have one of these kids who have heard a lot of no's. She has been, she grew up through the time when I was a food Nazi, and she, till this day, is the child that is the hardest to feed. Until this day, she gravitates towards that very food that I say no to. And so there you go. The more no you say and the more rigid you are, it's almost like you are perpetuating that which you want to stop. And so I think we have to really look at ourselves closer. How are we eating? What are our eating habits? Because a lot of the times, honestly, guys, we just don't pay attention. We are completely, we are almost like in denial. We see what we feed to our kids, but then when we eat, we don't really pay attention because, what do you mean? We're not used to, valuing and correcting ourselves, and it's just not something that we're taught to do. And so I think, especially because we are, I don't know, I guess if you're listening to this podcast, you will be that kind of a parent who is motivated to change and who wants to grow. Most likely you are a mom who is raising girls, and so in that case, I think it makes this entire process of what I call adulting and raising, adulting yourself, but also raising these girls, it makes it so much more sacred and reverent, and it makes it really important to teach and educate yourself and get the support that you need so that you can show up your very best and also inspire your daughters to do so. Because I think so many of us are just perpetuating generational patterns that were kind of like passed on to us from our mothers and grandmothers and our maternal line. And I know in my life I want to break that generational pattern. I don't want my daughters to get, I don't want myself to get sick, to be sick all the time, to be immobile when I'm in my 70s. I don't want to be depressed. I don't want to be taking medication. And I don't want to be completely dependent on doctors and other healthcare providers, although, oh gosh, God bless them, they're doing amazing work. But I really want to be my own advocate and my own healer, because that's what we are. We are mothers, and as mothers, we are healers. That's why this podcast is called Health Begins with Mom. All right, guys, I'm going to stop rambling. Hope this is helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. You're welcome to join the group. Just look up on Facebook, Busy Moms Get Healthy. Ask to join. There are 3 questions you need to answer. If you do not answer the questions, I will not approve you because I just want to make sure that you are the right kind of person for the group. And then the other thing that I want to offer you is a diva date. I've talked about this previously. It's basically because I believe that as women, as mothers, we are divas, and I would like to take you on a date. And that is a 45 minutes free conversation with me where we talk all about you. We talk about your health, about your cycle, about your maybe the cravings that you have, about your hormones. What are the things that you are feeling that are happening on an intuitive level, but you never actually reached out and helped yourself? But also, so many times I hear women say, you know what, I don't even know who to ask. Like, is this a doctor or is this the endocrinologist? Like, where should I go if I feel like my hormones are out of whack? And so I think this kind of conversation is a great place to start. I'm happy to support you. I'm happy to point you in the right direction. This is not a sales call, so don't worry. I'm not going to pitch anything to you unless, you are interested. I'm happy to share that. But really the purpose of this call is to facilitate space for you. I want to hold space for you because I truly believe that as women, we are wired for connection, and so many of us are really lonely. Although this is the social media generation and we have so many devices that connect us, but I feel like so many of us are more than ever now really are disconnected. And so this is the intention behind these calls. And I would love to support you. So if you're interested to book that kind of a diva date with me, just go to my website. It's healthbeginswithmom.com/diva. And you're welcome to read the copy on the page. If it speaks to you, just scroll down and you will see at the bottom there is a booking page. You're welcome to click on that and book a call with me. All right, guys, I hope this has been helpful. I'm sending you so much love and healing, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Health Begins with Mom show. I love hearing from you, so please post your comments and questions over at healthbeginswithmom.com/podcast. If you love the show, please share it on social media and in your real life with other moms who might enjoy this content. And if you have a burning question or topic you'd like me to hit on the show, just drop me a line at dorit@healthbeginswithmom.com. And if you love this show and really want to support it, please go to iTunes, write a review, and subscribe. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you next time. Much love and many blessings.